I've added the QR code here because the application will be available on December 1st. But if you would like to be added to our mailing list, you can enter your contact information and we can let you know when applications are open. And this is just for everybody in the audience and everybody that's online. Like, please help us advertise. Tell a friend, tell a family member, anybody who you think might be interested in our program, and ask them to apply, apply, apply. So next up is our panel discussion with Jonathan Best. So I am going to pass it on to him.
Awesome. Thank you, Saran. As Saran mentioned, my name is Jonathan Best, and I'm the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Specialist at Simons Foundation. So as part of my role, I partner with Saran and Casey to help do some of the administrative work for our program over the summer. So I have the wonderful privilege to work with our interns while they're on site, and then even a little afterwards. So scholars, I would love for you first to introduce yourselves. So if you could share your name, your undergraduate institution and rank, the year you participated in the program, and which center you worked at.
Hi. My name is Wisdom Boinde. I go to Earlham College in Richmond, Indiana, and I was at Simons Foundation last summer, 2023, and I was at the Center for Computational Quantum Physics.
My name is Kassar Prophet. I go to Colgate University in upstate New York. I'm a senior at Colgate, and I also worked at the Simons Foundation Flatiron Institute this past summer, 2023, and I worked at the Center for Computational Astrophysics.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Lucy Afko. I did my undergrad degree at Johns Hopkins University and graduated a few months ago, yay. Mm-hmm. So I'm currently at Duke University doing a post-bac. I did SNSP this year, so a few months ago, this summer, and I was at the Center for Computational Astrophysics.
Hi, everyone. I'm Latoya, and I was part of the 2021 SNSP cohort. I go to Brooklyn College at the City University of New York, where I am a senior, so I will be graduating this year. And I worked in the Center for Computational Quantum Physics.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for volunteering your time here with us and to help spread the word about the Simons NSBP Scholars Program. So my first question, so the goal really of our program is to show that every participant is a scholar and that they are capable of doing whatever physics they want to do. So was there a time during the program where you recognized that? And can you talk about it?
Since I'm holding the mic, I can go. So I actually remember distinctly when I realized that I am indeed not only a scholar, but just a part of this larger scientific community. The Scholars Program, one of the benefits is that you are wrapped into the culture of the Simons Foundation. And the biggest part of that culture is collaboration. So the moment for me was, believe it or not, was when I was sitting at lunch with the rest of the research team, and we were just chatting and talking, not only about just personal, like normal personal stuff, but really exchanging ideas about science. And that was the time where I was like, oh, I can do this. I can collaborate with people who are interested in my ideas, who are interested in helping me learn to get up to speed to what it is that they're doing. And yeah, it was lunch in the middle of the program, and it just kind of clicked because I could hear all of the really awesome project ideas that was flowing throughout the tables in the cafeteria.
Awesome, thank you. Anybody else?
I'd like to echo, I think that was wonderfully put. And I kind of like to echo that. I think for me, the moment, I didn't really have like a singular moment, but it kind of happened gradually. And it did happen through connecting with researchers in the other centers. So I was at computational astrophysics, but there's computational biology, neuroscience, mathematics, and whatnot. And I think with the number of times in the internship program that we have speakers invited, or in general events where you get to go out and talk to people, being able to exchange ideas, but I think especially not knowing much about their field, but having talked to them enough that you can ask them a nice enough question that you can get a nice conversation going. I think just recognizing that, like, the instinct to ask a question and then lead a conversation, I think that was the moment for me.
I also agree that it wasn't just a moment; it was kind of gradual. But definitely seeing other scientists there and what they spoke about, I would listen to what they were saying, and I actually understood, especially in computational astrophysics where I was working, I understood a decent amount of what they were talking about. Maybe not fully to the extent that they do, but I understood some of what they were saying. I was like, huh, I actually do, I do know something about what I'm studying. And that made me feel like I'm also a scholar. I'm also part of this program. And then as the summer went on, I realized I was working alongside all these people, and I was doing my work just as everybody else was. And that just kind of made me feel that, nobody, no matter at what level they were working there, nobody ever made me feel as though I was any lower than them because I was an intern or anything like that. So just gradually over the summer, it just made me feel as though I'm just another person working here. I'm just as capable as anybody else here. And that really made me feel as though I am a scholar here. I am doing, real research and things like that.
Yeah, so for me, it's something similar, but I also have a different experience also. So it's like to re-echo what they said, I also felt the connection that I got from my peers or other scientists in the Simons Foundation during conversations helped me realize that I could be a scientist. But most importantly for me, I realized that I could do whatever, physics or research I wanted to do whenever I made a breakthrough or whenever I came out of a pit hole, or, I'm stuck like in a particular problem trying to see if I could find the solution to it. And on your own, sometimes you end up going deep into the rabbit hole, and when you interact with your mentor or your peers around you and they bring you out of the rabbit hole, or maybe you bring yourself out of the rabbit hole by like making a breakthrough and realizing like that, oh, this was the actual answer that I was looking for. So that moment of breakthrough after like a series of hard work or frustration or discouragement made me realize that, you can get discouraged in the process, but eventually you would end up finding the answer one way or the other by taking help, which we all should for the most part. And, you realize that when you put all those pieces together, anyone can do whatever research that they put their mind to doing.
Oh, wonderful. I did not pay them to be here, so I couldn't have said anything better than myself. So thank you all. My next question, what was the most notable thing about your participation in the program?
Okay. For me, it was definitely being around other Black physicists. I go to a PWI, so I'm one of very few Black physicists, or even physicists of color in my year at my school. And so I remember showing up like the first week, the first couple of days, and just being surrounded by other, young undergraduate, for the most part, Black physicists. And for me, that was a very valuable experience. Like it just made me feel instantly like more welcome. It made me feel a little less like, being the only whatever it may be in your group can feel a little bit isolating. And so when I showed up and I saw all these other Black physicists around me, Black scientists in the same program as me, it definitely made me relax a little bit more. It made me feel more comfortable. And then it just made it easier to go forward with what I was doing. And again, kind of going back to what I said before, just feeling like I belong here and like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So.
Yes, I definitely echo everything that you said. And also the fact that I could do the thing that I've been wanting to do for the past few years. The number one question I kept asking myself prior to even learning about the Simons Foundation and about the Summer Scholars Program was, how do I blend software and programming with quantum physics? Because that's what actually drew me into physics in the first place. And that's when I finally landed upon this program. And it was everything that I imagined it to be, and even more so, 10 times that. So the fact that I can work in an environment where I'm surrounded by, just as we were saying, surrounded by people who look like me, we can talk science, we can be a community, a microcosm of what science will hopefully become, especially in physics, which is to be more diverse. And that was what was the most notable for me. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Wisdom or Lucy? You don't have to answer, but thank you.
I guess just to echo what has been said so far, I think it's being around scientists who look like you and having your peers there, but also the fact that everyone's on top of their game. Like, especially when I came in, I didn't really know, I didn't foresee that I'd connect with my cohort to the degree that I did. And it's the fact that, like, as I like talked to more people in my cohort and found out about not only the cool research that they're doing at Flatiron, but all the things that they're doing at their home institutions, and all the work that they're putting in, and all the things that they're starting, all the opportunities that they've gone and sought out and taken advantage of or created for themselves. And I think just to see all of that and know how motivated everyone was, then also being able to talk to them about research. I think together, like, to think that, well, imposter syndrome is a big thing, and I also went to a PWI. So I think just to the affirmation of it all, and that I'm also like working really hard towards this and I'm doing my best, but there's all these people around who, even if they're not at my home institution, we've all been brought to the same place, and they're also working just as hard. And it did wonders for my confidence, I will say.
Yeah, I would just like to add one thing that stood out to me the moment I walked into the Flatiron building was the Simons Foundation itself. And, I've had previous summer research experiences, but the moment I walked into the Simons Foundation building, the Flatiron building, it had a different vibe to it. And you walk into the center. So I worked in the Center for Computational Quantum Physics, so that was the first place I walked into. You walk in there and you see all these scientists sitting on the desk working, and the environment that is created for them to do the work they do was so profound that I had not seen it anywhere besides the Simons Foundation. And I knew that I had to create a connection between my major in computer science and my major in physics, but I wasn't sure how to strike that balance. And the Center for Computational Quantum Physics just stood out to me as in, this is it. And the environment there is good. Scientists are busy working and they can sit down and have lunch with one another and just talk about the research that they are working on and interact with their fellow peers, stumble on solutions to whatever problems they are facing. And so in general, that the Simons Foundation stood out to me. Yeah.
Great. And Wisdom, that was actually a perfect segue into my next question. So if you've had other research experiences, was there anything unique about the Simons NSBP Scholars Program?
So since I gave that answer, and I can add to I can re-echo the point that Latoya and Kassar and also Lucy mentioned about the community. So, the first activity that we had when we together as a group, I walked in the room and I saw a room full of Black people, and that was the first time I actually walked into a research internship. I mean, my previous summer internship was way bigger than this one, but this was more small sized and full of Black people, and they all looked like me. And the moment we initiated conversation and broke the ice, everything just went on smoothly. So I echo that.
I've also had multiple research experiences before I came to Simon's Foundation, and yeah, also not only in our group but just at the Flatiron Institute, it just felt very easy to speak to people, you know, sit down and have lunch with somebody, or if you see somebody in the hall, you know, those things definitely made the difference. Also, what made the difference, having my lunch and dinner paid for every day of the week, that made a big difference for me. I mean, that was just, you know, it's just like a nice perk to everything else that we got to do. But also, you know, the environment, you know, the way that the building is set up, the way that each floor, each center is set up, it just makes it feel, I don't know, it's something about it just feels more welcoming. It feels easier to work in. And for me, that was the difference from my other previous things, where it felt more like, oh, I'm doing a research experience. And while it still felt like I was doing one with Simon's Foundation, it felt different. It felt like there was a little bit more to it. You know, I could see something like beyond just what I was doing for the summer, but also like what I was doing for my research for the science. And I felt like for me that was the difference.
I think community definitely, but I think for me personally, it was the free food. It was, I think when you have your necessities taken care of, when you have your housing and you have your food, and you don't have to worry about like, what am I going to eat for dinner today? You can focus like never before. I even surprised myself with the ability to focus that I developed over the summer. And I think being in a position where you can focus so well and then also have the community open to you, asking questions and like popping into people's offices and going, hey, you know, I was stuck on this little coding thing over here. I heard you know what to do about that. Yeah, definitely. Having your necessities taken care of, though, it made a very big difference.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, not only in terms of the necessities, but also in terms of opportunities to do either outreach, like going to the Harlem Science Gallery, the Harlem Science Gallery, the opportunity to do the ice cream socials, just there's opportunities outside of just doing the hard work of your computational fill in the blank. The fact that you can participate not only in the ice cream socials, there's a lot of receptions, there's just always an opportunity to meet other people, either within your center or outside of your center. There's always opportunities to even go to talks that are given by scientists who are brought in from outside, so you can learn you can expand your knowledge in the amount of work that's being done within your field. So not only are you doing your own work and your own project and you're surrounded by amazing scientists, you can also learn from so many other people within both the Flatiron Institute and the folks that they bring in from outside.
Yeah, go ahead, Lucy.
All right, I guess one more thing before we go to the next question. One thing that surprised me about CCA and how welcoming people were there. They would often bring in people from different universities for talks, but oftentimes when they brought in someone for a talk, they also had a dinner afterwards, and they would let interns sign up to go to the dinners, and so you could really get to know people outside of the formalities. That was also very nice for like making connections and talking to people on a deeper level, I will say.
Great. Okay, so your main takeaway is when you come to the Simons Foundation, we will feed you. That is for sure. We've talked a lot about your experiences after being at the Simons Foundation and Flatiron Institute, but I want to back up a little bit before you came and you were like applying to the program. So like what attracted you to this program and ultimately made you decide to say, yes, I'll come to New York for a whole 11 weeks?
So COVID had a big effect, the epicenter of COVID. And one of the first things I noticed once literally everything shut down was how little community I had within physics. So I kind of knew before, but I didn't realize how much of an impact that had made. And so that is what propelled me to start seeking it out. And so between trying to answer the question of how do I blend programming and quantum physics, but also where can I do this? Is it in New York City? What are the opportunities that are available? That's what propelled me to apply to the program. But what's interesting about that is that COVID happened in, around 2020, et cetera. I didn't join until 2021. And I reached out to Casey. And this is another really important aspect of this program that I really want to emphasize, which is the fact that it is a very holistic program. And the first opportunity to see how holistic it is your first conversation with Casey. So Casey, I reached out to just the general email, and Casey was the one who reached out back to me. It would apply. We want to see your application for 2021. And then months went by, and then he reached out again, make sure you apply, the application's open. So he was really good at making sure that I felt welcome enough to apply in the first place. So that's really what propelled me. It gave me the confidence to do it. And I was also driven by the need to be around, frankly, my people who share the same interests that I do. And that's what brought me in. And that's why I stayed.
Yet another shout out to Casey. In undergrad, I'm interested in cosmology. And during undergrad, I did mostly or completely, totally all instrumentation. Which was very exciting. But as I was nearing the end of undergrad, I realized, oh wow, I spent all this time, but I know almost no theory. So where can I go to do more computational or theoretical work? So then I found this opportunity. But since by the time I get to New York in 2023, I would have already graduated. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to apply or not. And so I figured before I just tell myself that I'm not allowed, let me just shoot them an email. And it was also Casey who got back to me and was like, oh, let's do a Zoom meeting really quick, and convinced me that this was also still something I could do and was open to me. So yeah, definitely what you said about the community even before you're there.
I actually have a pretty unique story about how I found out. I read the book of the current president of NSBP, Dr. Hakeem Oluseyi. And his book was like, it was about his life. DM'd him, and I was like, yo, I just read your book. Like, it was crazy. I'd hope I get to speak to you one day. And he responded to me, and we were able to speak over Zoom. And so he actually encouraged me to apply. But then we're going to give Casey another shout out, because I applied, and then my first year, I applied in 2022, at the start of 2022 for the summer 2022 program. But Casey reached out to me because he said he wanted to speak with me. And so he spoke with me, and he was saying that he couldn't offer me a full position for that summer, but he could offer me a position as an associate, which is like not a full scholar, but you are there for part of the program. And in that Zoom meeting that I had with Casey, just the way that I was able to speak with him, it felt like very, I don't want to say informal, but it made it feel as though I was speaking with somebody who was like on my side. And, he was trying to advocate for me. He's like, I know you're a great candidate, but I forget what the reason was, but he like broke it down to me. I felt like he was speaking to me like, I was just like, I was another person, like I was an adult, and that made me feel like that was the first like indication of like, okay, this seems like a good program if somebody like Casey is working behind it. And so then I kind of stayed in contact with him, and I was like, and I said like, I hope I'm strongly considered as a full scholar for next year. And so we stayed in contact, and then I applied again, and I was able to get it. And, I just got to know Casey even better over the summer. And so that the rest is history. Yeah.
So another shout out to Casey. But we've heard too many Casey stories, but he's great. And I knew Casey a year before. I applied the year before 2023, and I got in, but I wasn't able to go. And my interactions with Casey were so genuine and beyond, professional, that I knew that I connected with him. And if he's in charge, or one way or the other related to the Simons Foundation or the experience, then there's one obvious evidence of it being great. So shout out to Casey. But when I got my decisions in the 2023 and I was deciding where to go to, besides Casey being a lovely, genuine, amazing person, I also was looking for an answer to what research I would like to do when I get into grad school. So I'm a senior right now. I'm graduating this December 2023. And so my previous research experiences hadn't given me the answers that I wanted. And I was hoping that Simon Foundation could be the Holy Grail, the one that would lead me to the promised land. And New York was also a really good place. I hadn't been to New York before. A lot of people were saying New York is good. I should go visit it. There's a lot of diversity and so many things to do in New York. So there was that to consider. And most of my faculty knew about Simons Foundation and said it was a good research institute. And if I go there, I'd be able to make good connections and hopefully advance my career and find the answers I'm looking for. And I did, so I'm glad.
Great. Also, I want to mention for Casey, he really wanted to be here in person, but him and his wife are waiting to welcome their new child. So he decided to stay home, but he's really sad that he couldn't be here. So I'm glad that you guys spoke so highly of Casey, because he really is an amazing part of this
He's
program.
the best.
Yeah. So my last question I want to ask you all before we open up to questions from the audience is, what advice would you give to someone who's thinking about applying?
Definitely apply. Don't even think. Stop thinking. Just apply. You would not regret it. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely apply. There's just too many benefits to not at least apply, in my opinion. You get great research opportunity, get to be around an amazing group of people. You get to make a lot of connections, not only in your group, but at the Flatiron Institute. And, I always go by, no matter whether you think you can or you can't do something, you just got to do it. Otherwise, you'll never know. So I would say, yes, definitely apply. And yeah, don't even think about it. Like Wisdom said, just do it.
I guess don't tell yourself you're not allowed in the room before you knock on the door, I guess. So definitely don't think about it, just apply. But if you can't stop thinking about it, definitely reach out like many of us did, and someone will get back to you.
On to that end, I would also say that if you are someone who doesn't feel like you fit the traditional trajectory of being a physics student, trying to go to grad school once you're done, or you even have questions about whether or not you want to go to grad school, the Simons Foundation is a great place to figure out if that's the path you want to go on. Because not only do you get the experience of the research itself, you get to ask those questions about grad school, the experience, what schools you should look into, et cetera. So even more so, if you feel like you're a non-traditional student, even more so apply to this program.
Great. So are there people who can take questions for us in the audience? Are there questions for either Sharon or I, for logistical things about the program, or any of the panelists, the question that we didn't get to answer yet? Ask? Oh, someone's coming with the mic, perfect.
Are any of you able to continue your research after the summer program?
I was able to. So first, I live in New York City, so that helped. But also, I had the opportunity and privilege to continue the research that I'm doing right now. So what happened was that I'm still in school. I was able to stay on as what's called a guest researcher, which means I have access to the resources and the people to be able to continue working on my project. And yeah, it's been an amazing experience. It allowed me to make even more connections and to participate in more of the fall programming and opportunities, et cetera. So yeah, you can. You just have to have that conversation. That's another thing too. One of the top tips I would give just for physics in general, but especially for this program, is don't be afraid to take initiative, ask those questions, talk to people, and that's what allowed me to be able to stay on, to be able to continue my research.
Yeah, so I was also able to continue my research after the research experience. I was exploring the effects of gauge screening in the Mori in a Mori material. It's tungsten disulfide over tungsten diselenide heterobilayer. I found out the effects of gauge screening. I was able to, see what happens in the system when you gauge screening. So gauge screening is effectively getting rid of the electron interactions in the system. But I wanted to know more. I wanted to be able to characterize it. I wanted to continue my research. I didn't want that to be the end. So as Latoya said, just have that conversation, and they're always willing to help you in your curiosity endeavors. And you can always, well, I don't guarantee you would continue, but once you take the initiative and you ask and you are curious about finding the solutions to the research you actually are doing, I think a lot of scientists will be willing to help you do it. So just ask. So I'm currently doing that right now, hoping to get to the bottom of the questions I'm asking about the Mori system. So yeah.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Ronan Siu. I'm a freshman from Stony Brook University majoring in physics. And my question for you is, what gives you all the resolve to stay motivated in your area of research when there are so many things in physics to explore?
For me, I think it's the wow. So I hear things from other areas in physics. So there's a lot of wow in astrophysics, actually. But for me personally, I know what physics I like when I'm deep in, the exploration. When I say that, I mean like I'm in the middle of trying to understand the concepts behind it. And once I'm able to look at an equation and come up with the physical, implications of it, if it makes me go, wow, this is amazing, in my own way, without external influence, then it's an indication that, it's something that I could keep doing and find more wows. And hopefully I'll be able to wow the universe with my wow.
First, that's a great question. For me, I've been interested in astronomy and astrophysics for a long time, so it's going to be very difficult for that interest to go away. But also, I realized that the people along the way too that you meet in the field, that's made the difference for me. I feel like I want to enjoy working around the people as much as I enjoy the work. And in astrophysics and the research I've done, and especially at the Flatiron Institute, I met a lot of people who made me feel that I would enjoy working in this space, around these kinds of people doing this kind of research. So beyond just the science, because I feel like, astrophysics is going to interest me no matter what I'm doing. Even if I was like working at the grocery store, I would still, love to learn about it. But the people along the way too has definitely made a difference for me to stay interested and be like, I could see myself continue doing this in the future and, working around these amazing scientists.
I think there are a few main themes in this panel, but I think one of them is community and the importance of community and how essential it is for successful research. So I would say the community that I've found in Astro, especially in cosmology, has been wonderful in my experience. So that's one thing that keeps me there, the friendliness of the people. I think the other thing is I'm also very interested in philosophy, and cosmology raises a lot of interesting philosophical questions for me, particularly about how science is done, how we disqualify theories, how we say, oh, it must be this and not that, and our process, our reasoning in doing that. So yes, a little bit about the community and being able to engage with the community on these topics in both cosmology and a little bit of philosophy too.
The way that I gauge whether or not I want to stay in the field that I'm in is, do I have that same wow feeling when I'm reading really hard papers? Do I want to actually decipher what they're saying in those papers? And if I don't want to, that's probably my cue to kind of switch fields. And again, shout out to Casey, because in the beginning, I was actually teetering between astrophysics and quantum physics, because let's be real, astrophysics, it has some great, great PR, right? There's great, beautiful galaxies, really interesting questions, like you said, philosophical questions that can be brought up. So he actually introduced me to a colleague of his where he was doing just a short remote school on learning more about the CMB. So I did that for a little bit. And that's when I quickly saw like, oh, I'm not hitting that wow factor, right? It didn't last very long. But so I kept going back to quantum. And then that's what made me stay. Because as hard as it is and as challenging as learning all the math is and et cetera, that's what kept me in. I kept having that wow factor happen, even when things got hard.
Yeah, I just want to say also, you should not be scared of, possibly not staying in whatever interest you have right now, because, times change. And so just whatever you find interesting, if you think it is interesting, just do it. And that, it will set the ball rolling for you to stumble on whatever wow you're looking for. So if you find something interesting initially, just do it.
Okay, no other questions, you can close.
Great. Well, if there are no more questions, we just really want to, again, thank our panelists for their time today, and thank you all for coming out. We do hope that you recognize that as the organizers of the Simons and NSBP Scholars Program, we really do care about your academic success, and we want to help build this community that's going to be here for you before, during, and after your experiences with us. And really that journey starts with your application. So please apply and ask us any questions if you see us around. So thank you.
Thank you.